With loads of business advice flooding the industry, it has never been harder to see the path to success. And you can't take action if you don't have clarity. Get clear on the actionable tips and strategies that will help to scale your business here on Masters in Clarity, the podcast that brings you clarity around messaging, business growth, digital marketing, personal development, and the business owner's journey to success. Let's join our guide, the master of turning clarity into action and lasting impact, Dolores Hirschmann.
I am so excited to bring Tony as a guest. I've known Tony for a few years, and I love his message about climbing the right mountain. Tony Martignetti is the Chief Inspiration Officer of Inspired Purpose Coaching, where he brings together practical experiences, formal training, and extreme curiosity to elevate leaders and equip them with the tools to navigate through change and unlock their true potential. One of the things I'm curious to ask Tony, because I know a little bit about his story, I've known him for a few years, and one of the things I know is that one day he found himself at the top of the wrong mountain. And I want to ask him, what does that mean? What does that look like? And the most important question is, how do you recover from that? I know the work that he's doing today is impacting millions of people through the leaders that he's guiding. And I know he himself, as a fast-growing professional leader, has had to kind of go back to basics and explore what he wanted to rebuild his career in the right path, climbing the right mountain. So make time, take notes, listen to my conversation with Tony. You're going to love it. I'm so excited, Tony, to deep dive into this conversation. So let's get started. Tell me your clarity journey or your confusion journey, right? What got you here? Because I know clarity is what we seek and it's not always what we get.
Yeah, I would say, it's funny that you say that because it started with my trials and tribulations through my journey in the corporate world. I learned a lot about the world through my emotional experience of being, this ambitious leader. I was very driven, and eventually I experienced depression and burnout. I can smile now about it, but the reality is there was some dark days that I went through. And what I found was, as I was in those dark periods, I found my way out. And I slowly but surely realized what my purpose was through that period of, finding ways to cope with that darkness.
Let me pause you there because there's a little detail there. And in many of these podcast conversations, you go through the hero journey. I went through darkness and I came out. And then we're going to tell the great story of what's happening now that you're in the light, right? Mm-hmm. But for that person listening to us right now, who's in the dark, all they need to know, they don't want to know the end of the story yet. But what they know is, what is that minute, that thing, it could be a book, a person, a moment, that to shifted from full darkness to gray? Because I don't believe that you went from dark to light. You went to gray, like a cloudy day.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that because it's so true. When you're in that dark place, what you need is just one glimmer of hope. You got to hold on to hope. And I think part of it is realizing that giving up is the easy way out in some ways. And I don't mean to say that to, diminish the feeling of what that looks like. But I had a hope. I said, I got to do what I need for my family. I need to provide for them. I need to be there for my son. I want to see, what he's going to turn out to be and how he can thrive in this world. And holding on to the hope of what's possible for him was what really got me out of that moment of darkness. And I started to see, what do I need? What's one small step I needed to take to move out of this place of real struggle? And the first steps I started to look at were, looking at gurus and, the self-help books and reading tons of books about, what does life mean? But the answers weren't all there. It was just a starting point. Meditation was another thing I started to do a lot of. And I, at first I was a naysayer. I was like, no, meditation's not going to solve my problems, but I found that every little bit helped. Still wasn't completely clear, but it helped.
So let me break it down, because I think, Tony, of anything we can talk about today, and there's a lot we're going to go deep into. I have chills in this because every speaking moment, people are sharing the joy of being on top of the mountain, and I'm using that intentionally. But there was a little shift that you went from looking in to looking around. You went from looking into how you were in your darkness to looking around at your sun.
Yeah.
And allowed curiosity to come in. And the curiosity was very clear.
Yeah.
I want to know how this story turns out. I want to know what my baby boy turns into. And that was what I understood, is that was what began the shift. You didn't want to not know what you had created.
Yeah. I love that you bring that up, because there's this element of really shifting my focus from the, being on the inside and kind of struggling with that inner turmoil, to shifting outside and seeing what's on the outside that really is, that is lighting me
Matters.
up. Or
yeah,
that's providing that environment that could create a positive influence for me. And, what could I be curious about and learn about the outside world that could bring something back into me that would help me to shift?
Yeah, I love it. And sometimes you can, and I don't want to go into that, because I think there's so I love your story of you were very clear what you wanted, and to realize that wasn't what you wanted. You were really clear you wanted to hike that tall mountain of success, get that title, get that promotion, that paycheck, that bonus, only to find when you had all of that, you were looking down at the wrong mountain. So let's talk about a mountain. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, obviously it means a lot to me, because I, first of all, love mountains. I always have been an adventure seeker throughout my life, and I've enjoyed climbing mountains throughout my entire life. And one of the things that I have experienced is the climb in the corporate life that I've had was really constantly struggling to get to that place where I could feel like I was on top. And what I realized is when I got to this place of feeling like I had all those external feelings of reward, I didn't feel good inside. I didn't feel like I had accomplished what I really wanted internally. And that's where that darkness came from. It was this feeling of like, I don't feel like I'm who I'm supposed to be, even though externally, I might be seen as a success, or maybe seen as someone who's accomplished a lot of great things. Ultimately, I felt empty.
Yeah. And so fast forward many, many, many years. What does a mountain mean in your work today? And I know there's something exciting that just happened in June. Can we talk about it?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, I would say that in terms of the mountain itself, what I learned is that it's how you climb and how you set the path for what you want ultimately in life that changes who you become. And I think that's important. And the big news is that here we are in June. It's basically, I just had this amazing news to announce. I just launched my book, which is called Climbing the Right Mountain, navigating navigating the journey to an inspired life, which I'm really excited about my new book coming out, because this has been a year in the making, and it's been a powerful catalyst for me to really understanding the story that I had inside of me about my own journey. But I also wanted to share it so that people could understand their own way to navigate their path and see that there's a different way to look at it. And that's really what's important for me. And when I think about the mountain.
Show me, let's see. I love that. And I love the cover. So let's talk about this. So climbing the right mountain, and let's now shift to your work. Your book says a lot about it, and anybody listening to this podcast, you should check it out. Tony Martignetti. How do you say your last name properly?
Martignetti. You're silent.
Because I was going to say Martignetti in Spanish, but Martignetti. In Amazon, Climbing the Right Mountain, check it out, because it is focused on the problem that we are facing as a society right now. And it's this hunger and drive of going for more, only to find yourself at the top of a mountain you never really wanted to climb. Because where you found yourself in your mountain back then when you were in darkness, Tony, you found yourself at the top of Loneliness Mountain. You found yourself at the top of I'm Not Healthy Mountain. You also found yourself at the top of I'm Making a Lot of Money Mountain with a lot of responsibility, but I'm not sleeping mountain. And so talk to me about how you guide leaders. And it's not about changing the world outside of you, because it's easy to quit the job or divorce your partner, but you're going to perpetuate the problem if you don't do the self-exploration of being your own guide through your right mountain. So talk to us about the work you do helping leaders.
Yeah, I love that you say this, because there's a landscape, an inner landscape that really needs to be reshaped before they can truly, a leader can really create the life that they want. And I often talk about it being how you're being and who do you want to be, which I know there's a lot of B's in there, but the reality is it's important to understand, who do I want to be in the world? Not what title do I want to have? We talk about these external markers of success, being the CEO or being the owner of a company. That's all fine and great. And it's not about cutting those ambitions down. It's just doing it for the right reasons and setting a course for who you want to be first, before you start to kind of set up those markers of, okay, the title and all these other things that come along with that. Those things will come, but only when you set the course on who you want to be.
So let's talk very specific, because here's what I want. I want anyone listening to this episode right now to clearly understand if you can help them.
Yeah.
And so what are people experiencing before they pick up the phone and schedule a consultation with you?
Yeah. So a lot of people who are coming to me, they're coming from a place of really being accomplished. Sometimes they don't know how accomplished they really are, because they're living in this life that they've built themselves, and they discount their accomplishments. So they show up and they feel like, life's not what I expected. I feel a little bit like stuck. And I don't know what really to do next, or how to create that next move for me that's really going to create, a more fulfilling life for me. I want to create more meaningful impact. And ultimately, I need someone to help me see it more clearly. And so one of the things that I often hear them say is, I don't know if I need to do something where I have to leave my job, or if it's just something where I need to think differently about my current job. And what I'll do is I'll get them to think differently just by stepping away. I often use the analogy of expand your vision, narrow your focus, because we're all looking at this pattern we've been stuck in. We're looking at this wall, and we need to step away and look at what else is possible for me? What am I missing in my day-to-day life? I think this past few years, we've been really stuck in this, okay, I don't know, I'm just rinse, wash, and repeat. That's the pattern I'm in. And I need to step away and see what else is possible for me. And when I do see the options available to me, I then need to get clarity on, narrowing that focus and seeing what I can execute to create that next action that's going to move me into the place where I need to be.
I love that. I love that. That person coming in and saying, "There's nothing wrong in my life, but I'm empty. Everything's all I ever wanted, but I'm bored." I mean, because I feel sometimes the word bored, a very, very, very busy person, most of your clients or prospect clients, can't even acknowledge that they're bored, because if you look at their calendar and the schedule, they don't have time to be bored. Like, this idea of bored means that you are not busy, but you can be bored and busy.
Absolutely. I love that you say that. Bored and busy is is really a big conundrum, and it's something that is more common than people think.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fill your calendar with things that don't serve you, and then feel as though, okay, where did my week go? What did I do this past week that really lit me up, and moved me towards a goal that is meaningful to me? And that's where you start to get into that rut, that pattern that is not really serving you. So stepping away from that pattern is really what's important, is saying, what about last week am I proud of? And what about next week am I excited about? If you can't answer those questions with a really good, clear answer, then you may be in a place where you need to start thinking differently about the work you're doing.
So let's say that I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
And I come to you and we hop on a free consultation.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously, before that, I get your book. And I'm gonna give a tip on the air, and if you disagree, we can edit it, and we don't have to edit that because I'm being totally transparent. But one of the things we do at Masters in Clarity is I share my book with anybody that's coming in for a consultation. I actually mail it as a gift.
Yeah.
And so they come into our consultation knowing about our work. So let's say that I got a gift of your book and I'm hopping on a consultation with you, and I'm sharing how I am bored, which doesn't make any sense, because if you look at my calendar, I don't even have time to brush my teeth. And you say, well, we're going to work together. And I say, but I have no time to work with you, because if you look at my calendar, you would throw up. So how do you help me if I can barely make time to hop on a consultation with you?
Yeah, I love that you say it, because there's so many people who feel that way. And I think ultimately it comes down to what is important. What are the priorities in your life? Like, how can you create space for the things that are most meaningful to you? If you're not able to make space for things that are going to create more meaning in your life, and if that means working with a coach, working with other people who are going to help you to move and amplify your impact forward, then you've got bigger problems that you might need to be dealing with. And those priorities are so important to make clear. So I think one of the first steps you got to do is really question yourself. Is my calendar and the way it's designed serving me? And how can I step away from all of that and create space for the things that are going to serve me?
Great. And so I say, yes, I'm going to make time in my calendar for the things that are going to serve me. So what happens next in our journey of working with Tony?
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll spend time really understanding, what it is that you value. What are the things that you have accomplished in the past? I always think about you start to play with time. I think of myself as one of these the time traveling anthropologists. I want to really understand people, but I want to understand it from the perspective of where you're coming from, where you're going to, and then what can you do in this current time right now to take action to move towards that future you want to create. But it starts by looking backwards, taking an inventory on all the things that you've created in the past to know fully who's showing up at the door. And that's not just about me discovering it for you, but it's you discovering it for you. A lot of things you haven't taken the time to really look at because you're just living your life.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So let's talk about, what are you most proud of? I mean, you've accomplished so much since that day at the top of the dark mountain.
Yeah. If I were to say like the things I'm most proud of, well, first of all, being able to have a family that I love and be able to support them and create a life that we can create together. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to move past my darkest moment and move out of that dark moment and into a place where I could see the light. And I'm also proud of, now you asked for one moment, but I'll say a couple moments. And I'm proud I took the leap into creating a business that really serves people, that sees people in a way that really can help them to uncover what's truly hiding and to amplify their impact in a way that helps them to create a life that's meaningful for them.
Yeah. So looking forward, what are you most excited in the year ahead?
Oh, I'm so excited. First of all, I'm excited about the book being out, and I'm looking forward to hearing what it does for people. So I'm looking forward to hearing back from the people who read it, and hearing what people think, and then seeing what dialogue it opens up from there. I'm also looking forward to starting my next book. That's the next thing I'm on to. My next book will be something around called Campfire Lessons, and it's going to be coming from all the lessons I've learned through the work I've done with my podcast, which is called the Virtual Campfire. And the last thing I'll mention is that I'm really excited about creating group programs to bring together different leaders from different industries to create an opportunity for them to amplify their impact together. I think it's so powerful when you bring people together who are up to big things in the world, and you create a space for them to connect and help them to raise their boats together.
I love that. So it's June 16, 2030.
Mm-hmm.
What are you celebrating? What impact are you having?
Yeah. What am I celebrating? I'm celebrating being here today and being able to say that I've, survived my darkest days to this point. I'm celebrating the fact that I've been able to work with amazing people and have had, even if it was the slightest impact on their lives, that to me is what I'm celebrating, is being able to be a part of their lives. And I think that's something that every day it fuels me. My inspiration is being inspired by the people who inspire me.
Love that.
The work I do.
Love that. So where can people find, first of all, question that we ask all our listeners, what is one book? And I know we must not miss Climbing the Right Mountain, but short of that book, what is one book we should all tap into? Or book or resource, podcast series?
Yeah, by far, this is one I've mentioned maybe 1,000 times, is The Art of Possibility by Benjamin and Rosamund Zander. And it's a book that I actually read because I actually met Benjamin Zander. He spoke at a group I was with, and he just was just a fascinating character, full of life and full of just interesting stories. But the book itself is one that inspired me to think there's so many ways to look at life. And if you kind of change the way you look at the world, you can create so many new possibilities. And I can't nearly summarize all of the great insights in the book, because he gives you tools and different ways to think about how to create those possibilities. And one of them is that how he looks at giving everyone an A. You start with an A and allow people to come from that place of being, come from that place of having an A from the beginning, and then allow them to build up to that A. It's really amazing.
I love that, because basically every person that comes to your world, you receive them from a place of this human being is amazing.
Yes.
Which for many of us who've been hurt, I'm 40, almost 49. You're 32. No, I'm kidding. I don't know how old you are, but however old you are, you could be 15, but you have probably, easy to say that you've been disappointed by at least one person, right? Yeah. It's just a human experience. But I love that this, and I'm definitely going to pick it up this summer, this idea of doesn't matter what filters we have, allowing people to walk in with an A and be vulnerable to the opportunity of an amazing human being, it sets a relationship up for success.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love how you said that. And I think it's really been something that I didn't notice about myself. And this is what I do in my work, is that I didn't know about this about myself, but I realized after kind of digging into my own understanding of who I am, is that I see the beauty in people that they don't see in themselves. And I think when you start with that feeling of, hey, you've got a beauty, let's kind of uncover that. Let's see what it is. Don't see your flaws as something that you should hide. Maybe those flaws are something that are meant to be there. There's a reason for it.
Yeah. I love that. So, Mr. Tony, where can people find you?
Well, the best place to find me is my website, inspiredpurposecoach.com. And if you go there, you'll find all types of fun stuff. And the place you can find me is at LinkedIn. It's probably the best social media spot for me. Other than that, I'm everywhere.
You are definitely everywhere. And you should definitely check out his podcast, Virtual Campfire. Yeah. It's very, very well done. You've been at it for a while. You've recorded a lot of episodes. Yes. So there's a whole vault of amazing conversations in there. And by the way, we're going to post all of the links to learn more about Tony under this episode. Any parting words, Tony, that you want to share with our audience?
Oh, I just would say that it's always a good time to reconnect and have those conversations that have been missing in your life. One of my key taglines, if you will, is that inspiration comes through honest conversation. And I'll even take it one step further. Inspiration comes from courageous conversations too. Those conversations you're nervous to have, find the courage, because it's worth it. Awesome.
I love that. Inspiration comes from courage conversations. Thank you, Tony, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Masters in Clarity. If you loved today's show, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Share this episode with 2 people in your world, and as a gift, go to mastersinclarity.com/free to download free clarity resources. Join your host, Dolores Hirschmann, next time to continue forging a clear path to your impactful success.